Hello again. I have had many people walk by my yard and say, "Oh, that is so beautiful." And I told them, I said, "I'll show you how to do it. It'll just take some time, but I'll show you, and then you could have a yard just like mine." And then they tell me, "Oh, I'm not into gardening. It takes too much time. It takes too much money. It takes too much effort. And it's just too hard to maintain." So they don't even try or give up, even though there's something beautiful. And they often say, "Oh gosh, I wish I had a yard like that." Well, they could if they wanted to. I've also heard people give a similar response when talking about certain goals that they've wanted to achieve, but they give up because they say, "Oh, it just takes too much time," or "there's just too much effort involved," or "there's too much maintenance involved," and so they don't ever reach their goals. I guess you could say the same thing about cleaning your house, improving your financial situation, getting an education, taking care of your car, learning a new sport, building a strong relationship with your partner. All of those things are going to take time, effort, and maintenance. Anything that is worthwhile is going to take that time, effort, and maintenance. So I went back to the university to get my degree 30 years after I had first started. And I was a little scared. And I thought, "Oh my goodness, how am I even going to do this? I haven't taken some of these classes for 30 years. And then some of them were even longer. The ones that were required, I hadn't even taken since high school. So it was a little bit scary. But if I had thought about just the moment or the next 2 weeks instead of focusing on the goal of getting my degree, it would have been a lot harder. But I knew what I wanted to achieve. And so, because I saw that, I was focused on what I wanted to achieve rather than the difficulties in between. I was able to get my degree. I was able to put in the time, put in the effort, and then I was also able to maintain the things that were necessary in order to continue to progress. So I'm really, really glad that I took that time. And I think I was able to do that because I have grown a garden for many, many years. And there are many things that I learned from gardening, from just the process of nature, because that's where truth comes from. God is a God of nature, and we see elements all throughout nature of how to do life. And so I think that's why it was a little bit easier for me. I think one of the hardest things for people to do is to take the time. People put forth effort for lots of things, but waiting and being patient has become very, very difficult, especially in a time where we are so used to instant gratification. I mean, we want something, we go to our phones, we order it, it comes to our doorstep, often that same day. And we don't have to take any effort to go do some research and get those things. It's just really hard when everything is so available, and people never learn how to wait. And even if you had in your childhood, it's become so convenient, and so we're so used to it that we just don't like to wait for better results. And so I think part of gardening is that we get to wait, we get to learn patience. And this is an ongoing process, because even now, even though I'm a gardener and I understand these principles, I get frustrated when I have to wait for 3 seconds for a page to open up because my internet is slow for that moment, for whatever reason. 3 seconds can just go, drive me crazy. And there's many, many things that are like that. But we've got to learn to wait, because anything that is worthwhile is going to take time. So when I find myself getting bored or impatient, I go back to the roots, literally, in the garden. I go back to the soil. I go back to growing things. I go back to planting seeds. I go back to learning and relearning the process of growth. So if you are impatient, I suggest planting some seeds. Now, yeah, I know it's winter and we can't all go out depending on where you live. At least where I live, it's still wintertime and it's not the time to plant yet. So, but I can plant something indoors. I can plant some herbs. I could plant some starting seeds so that I can plant when the springtime comes. And I get to see how growth happens. And it takes time. It's not instant, and you have to be patient, and there are things that are involved. You have to water, and you have to feed, and you have to just maintain the growth process. But it does help remind me that I don't have to have things instantly right now. So I often think about Jesus being the creator of the universe, and he taught many, many parables using nature in that, having the faith of a mustard seed, or scattering the seeds on rocky soil and where they're going to be able to grow and where they're not going to be able to grow. And I think he has placed in nature those things that we can find, because when he taught from the parables, not everybody understood, but he taught in parables so that people who would have ears to hear and hearts of understanding would understand what was going on. And I think we have those same lessons in nature that he's dropped. Well, for lack of a better word, he's planted seeds of knowledge and of truth as part of nature, and we get to enjoy and see that. Now, because we're all conditioned in this world that we live in right now, we're all conditioned to be impatient. We talked about the instant gratification. But if you find yourself having an aversion to growing things, think about why. Is it because it takes too much time? Is it because it takes too much effort? Is it because there's something that needs to be maintained? Because if it is, don't give up. Know that we are constantly being bombarded with things in our social media feed and on our phones and everywhere, advertisements. Everything has to be quick and now and fast, or it's not worth it. And it's hard to get out of that cycle. But don't give up. I suggest you also try planting some seeds. Think about some of the herbs you would love to use in your cooking, or maybe there's a flower that you would love to plant, and just put it in a pot in your house so that you can look at. Learn to grow something, because it is worth the effort. And it doesn't take a lot of space or time. You could do plants on your patio. You could even do just a small area of your garden. I've got a planter out front that's very, very small. It's in the middle of one of my other planter beds. But that's where I grow some herbs, and it's really, really beautiful. And in fact, I've had neighbors come over and just pick herbs from my garden because they're so plentiful and so wonderful. And it's just been so much fun to see them grow, but it didn't happen overnight. So if you're struggling with anything, maybe you have thought for years to go back to school and get a degree. Why aren't you? Maybe you keep putting off doing a new budget so that you can take care of your finances. Why not do it now? think about other goals or ambitions or things that you have always had in the back of your mind that you wanted to do, or you wanted to learn, or you wanted to be a part of, but you keep putting it off because it takes too much time, effort, or maintenance. And just to practice getting out of the fast track mindset of having it now, try growing something. Grow something in your house or in your garden, depending on where you live, and watch the growth process. Learn to pick up what's being taught from nature so that you can transfer that to other areas of your life. Like I said before, I think one of the reasons I was able to go back to school so many years later when it wasn't convenient and it wasn't the right time, I was able to do it. And in my older age, I was a straight A student. It was awesome. I did have one class that I struggled with, but for the most part, I was able to do it and get my degree, and it has made the biggest difference in my life, being able to go back and get my degree. And so if there's something that you want to do, do it. And if it's hard for you and you just can't stick with it, grow something. It will teach you the growth process. Everything in this world is connected. Our thoughts are connected to our actions, and how we think and feel about things really does affect what we do, what we accomplish, and how well we live our life. So learn to grow and don't be stagnant. Learn to be patient and you won't give up. Learn the gifts of gardening so that you can learn how growth actually happens, and you won't be blind to the possibilities that are there for you in your life. So I hope you go on a growing process. I hope you learn to grow something in your house. It's worthwhile, and there's so much beauty to be part of that. So no matter what you do, just keep growing.